Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with a quick video on how I make my master boards. And I will preface by saying this was a real-time video, but it just got a little bit long and it's really repetitive, so I decided to go ahead and speed it up a little bit and then go ahead and do the voiceover. So I did have some viewer requests for me to do a master board where I also show you how I decide, how I choose my papers, as well as how I decide how I'm going to cut it up. So we will be doing the collage bit here, and then we will also be cutting it up. So I hope that you enjoy the video. So kind of my recipe for creating a master board is to have varying colors and shades, tones of neutrals, because they make a great background and they're really versatile for any kind of journal that you want to do. And then I also have some scraps of some other papers from my scraps, as well as I wanted some really green focus in this because this is for my adventure journal, or that's what I'm calling it currently. And it's going to be very neutral in tone, but it's also going to have a lot of green in it. So I did print the shabby green kit from My Porch Prints, the ephemera bits, so that I could use them in the collaging. So I printed those on 20-pound paper. So I also pulled some bigger pieces of paper from a small dictionary book and a small music book from my vintage stash. So I'm using those to kind of cover a bigger area than you can cover with the smaller bits. So I am using my glue stick here. As you can tell, I don't like glue sticks, as I've mentioned, but it works really good for this. I did have to go and kind of put glue under a lot of those edges as we moved through the process, but it's a really quick way to get papers down quickly. And in a previous masterboard video, I did go ahead and stitch on my masterboard before I cut it up, but I am not doing that this time. That was really problematic because it was really hard to cut down because of all of the strings and everything sewn in. So I will be doing all the stitching on the pieces after I've cut them up. So that's kind of the plan currently. So as you can see here, I have a variety of vintage music pages and book pages. I was just, in real time, I was commenting about how you do want to kind of be thinking about what's on your paper as far as words, because you don't want to have something on there that's offensive. And so this vintage book page is from a book, a Jungle Book, a children's Jungle Book story, and one of the sides of the paper had some stuff that was kind of creepy, so I did turn it over to make sure that that was kind of more safe to see. So again, just going to continue to work through this and cover all of the white. I did choose, my substrate here is a piece of Bristol paper, and it measures 14 by 14 because I did cut it off of a really large pad. So just switching out my glue stick there, I ran out of the other one. So I don't care for this one, the purple one. It doesn't seem to adhere as well, in my opinion, but I just went with it. I find collaging very therapeutic and very kind of relaxing, so I really enjoyed this process, and doing it on camera for you is always a joy for me. So I hope that you gain something from it. And if in case I forgot to mention it, I do choose other tones of color too here. So you can see there's a lot of yellowish vintage paper, but I also am bringing in some vintage book pages and dictionary pages that's a different tone, that's more on the white side. So that creates a lot of variation in the project that creates interest. And so now we're moving on to some of the scrap bits from my scrap bin. And I do, in real time, again, I was mentioning that I do sort my scraps in these little drawers that sit on my desk, and I have them divided up by vintage music and book pages, and another drawer is all of my scraps of coffee dyed paper. I have a drawer that has specialty paper like vellum and rice paper and things like that. So it's really easy to kind of fish through those and just pick the kinds of paper that you want in a project without kind of getting buried in your scraps. So, and then I have another one that is for heavier stock of scrapbook paper and another bin for digital scraps because they tend to be lighter weight. So just a little tip in for how I organize my scraps. And so again, just filling in all of the white spaces here. And then as you can see, I'm trying to move some of those darker colors and place them in varying places so that we have that tone all around the masterboard. In the end, obviously that doesn't matter because it's going to be cut up, but I think it does help as a guide to get to the result that you want. That piece of paper is just some vintage, it's from a vintage school tablet that I have in my stash, which I adore. So I'm just placing that there too. I thought it was a really nice added element. And then this, I was talking in real time. I bump into this scrap every single time I go through my scraps and I never use it. It's from a vintage simplicity pattern. And so I decided to go ahead and use it this time because I always, I pull it out to use it and I never use it. I'm not sure why. So I thought I'm just going to go ahead and give it a home in this journal. So, and the journal that I'm making is actually going to be a journal swap. She's making a green themed journal for me and I'm making a green themed journal for her. So I've never done that before. So it's been kind of interesting. Because I don't know her. I enjoy her work. I love what she creates. And so, and I'm assuming she likes what I create or she wouldn't have asked, but I kind of got waylaid by being having my computer be down, crashing, and then getting sick. So this has taken me a little bit longer to kind of delve into this project than I would have normally liked. So, and here I'm just grabbing some of the scraps of my coffee dyed paper. This is paper from my stash. And I really like those really dark edges. It's where the when you're coffee dyeing, some of that stronger color will kind of go to the edges of the paper and then it dries really kind of crispy. I don't bake mine in the oven. I just let it naturally dry. It takes days and days and days and constant, flipping them over and stuff like that to get them to dry. But I don't, the idea of putting paper in the oven just scares me. I'm kind of a clumsy person and I don't want to get hurt or burn my house down, or set a fire. So here are the bits that I was talking about that are from my Porch Prints shabby green kit, those ones that I just set aside there to the left. The other parts here are from a kit that I purchased for this project. The one there that you see, a lot of these pieces are from a kit called Outdoor Adventure, and I'll try to link it if I can remember. If I forget, please do just leave me a comment and I'd be happy to go back and give you that link. It's a great kit all about like the outdoors and camping and tents and backpacking and stuff like that. So, and this here was just a scrap from a project that I have already prepped for this journal that I have not yet recorded, but this was a cut that was wrong. So I went ahead and just threw it in my scrap bin and using it on the collage, which is really cool. So the other thing here, and as I was talking in real time about how I place these kind of more focal images around the piece, is I kind of think about already at this point how I'm going to cut the board up and how I'm going to use it in terms of, am I making tags, am I making journal cards, pockets, what am I doing? And so some of those I strategically placed so that they would be in line with a good cut line. And so I do make some pretty large tags out of this board, a couple of large tags that I think measured 4.5 by 7-ish. So, but you'll be able to see that here in the end. So again, just spacing those papers out all around the board. And I do come in and I normally would ink my edges as I collage. That's my normal pattern, but I saw somebody do it in a video where they glued all their papers down and then they inked on top of it, and the ink caught on all of those lines and it was really super easy. I did have one spot where I had re-inked my ink pad and it got really, really juicy, and I didn't dab it off, and so I got like this big old streak of brown on the masterboard. But it was a really nifty way to ink all of the area pretty easily and pretty quickly. I really liked that. So yeah, pretty fun. I love collaging. It's a great way to use your scraps, and you can get I normally will do a master board for almost every project that I do, because it's a great way to use your scraps from the project, and other scraps as well. And it's very fast, and you can get a lot of ephemera out of one piece of paper. Even if you were just using like a 12 by 12, you can get a lot of stuff. While that's playing and I'm doing the voiceover, I'm going to just tell you how many pieces we got out of this, even though you'll see in the end. We got 2 corner tucks, we got 1 small tag, we got a couple of pockets, a side pocket, a regular pocket, 2 regular pockets, a belly band, a medium-sized tag, and 2 large tags. So super, super great ephemera. And I had originally thought that I would go ahead and decorate them before I post this video, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just do it in a show in the next video when I'm working on this journal, because I don't have the time to sit down and do the decorating right now, and I don't want to hold up getting the video up on the channel. So, and this, I just decided I was going to bring in some of this tissue paper. This was actually in a package that I received from Tiffany over at Bluebird Lane Creations. I won her 200 subscriber giveaway. Not that I think she'll be in the high numbers very, very quickly. She's got a lot of great content, and people are really liking what she's creating, and she's got a really pleasant way of creating in terms of her voice and her tone, and she's engaging, and she's all of that stuff, but yet she's very, she's doing the work, she's doing the project while she's chatting. So I really enjoy that. So I did want to incorporate that cute polka dot tissue into the project as well, because it was just sitting right here. So, and I had used it in my Sunday's Art of Truth that I recorded before this one. So it was just right here and handy. So, and now I'm coming in with a variety of some tickets and things that I pulled from my ephemera. I believe these are from Cara-Renee Creations, and because they create a little bit more of just a design feature on a master board that I think is really adds a lot to the final projects that you cut out of the master board. So I am just putting those here and there around the paper here. And not being super strategic, like, I mean, there's not like, it's not like a gift to do this. Like, it's just like some of the pieces you just like put them wherever, wherever your eye goes. Often I will just put it wherever my eye goes, and usually I like it. So I try to kind of listen to that creative part of me that says, oh, that looks good, or oh, that looks like crap. So yeah, and here with my hands, I think I was talking here about how I was already thinking about cutting the board up, and how I was kind of putting things together in a way that they would go well together in, a journal pocket or a tag or whatever. I ended up cutting that section up, like that flower, that yellow flower down in the lower left-hand corner. I deliberately put that other quart little label there because I thought it looked good with it. So, and then the butterfly up at the top left-hand corner I thought was really perfect there, and ends up being really nice in the final cut. And here's where I'm going to just go ahead and come in with my Vintage Photo Archival ink, and I'm going to go ahead and ink all around the surface in one foul swoop, which was really nice. Again, I had a heavy area, and they're just trimming off some of that excess paper off the edges. And then I did stop here and re-ink my ink pad, I believe, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be really like having to scrub a lot to get that ink to show up, because I hadn't re-inked my ink pad. And there I was just talking about how Ranger does no longer sell a Vintage Photo Archival ink pad, so you have to buy the Ranger DIY empty pad, and then buy the re-inker, and then you got the product. So it's pretty great. I love using Vintage Photo because it is archival and it's my favorite color. and it will not reactivate with any other medium. So if you were to put paint on here or anything else, it's not moving. So you can see that big swatch of brown that I have there. I'm going to grab my alcohol really quick on a little bit of a paper towel and see if I can soften that a little bit. That was definitely not what I wanted to do there, but that happens sometimes. So I'm just looking while I'm doing the voiceover and see if I can tell where that ended up being in the project. It ended up being light enough that it didn't ruin anything, so I was glad, because then I started tapping off my brush every time I re-inked it, because again, the pad was newly inked and was pretty wet. So, and then just, yeah, finishing up inking. I was just showing you there how much of that ink is really getting on that surface, because when I pull those corners up, it's a very different color underneath the paper. So this really works, and it was a big time saver in this project, rather than inking as I went each piece. So this was epic. I don't remember where I saw it, just on somebody that I follow, somebody I'm subscribed to. I saw did this kind of all at once, which is pretty cool. And then just as I come upon them, I'm just re-gluing some of those pieces, because I want to make sure that they adhere well. I will be doing some stitching and stuff around the cut pieces off camera, but again, I will do that, and then I will decorate them and show you at the beginning of the next video that I do for this project, so that you can actually see them all decorated up. So I always forget to take a picture of my masterboard before I cut it up, so I didn't take a picture here, which is kind of a bummer. But here I'm just talking about how I'm going to cut that right hand side up, because it is 14 inches high, and so I can make two 7-inch tall tags. And so I made them 7 inches, and then I made them 4.5 inches across wide. So, and I am using my blade, which I don't normally do. They make me really nervous. I'm kind of clumsy, and so I don't generally like to use a straight edge blade, but I am using it here in this project, trying to be safe. The masterboard did end up being somewhat thick, and so I do get kind of a good cut here going over this a few times, but then I did have to come in with my scissors as well, because it just was not cutting through. Probably if I'd been a little more persistent, I could have continued until it did cut all the way to the other side, but I went ahead and got my scissors out. I'm not sure. Oh, I think I stepped away because the phone rang in here. Rang really loud, because the phone and all that internet stuff is in my studio, so the phone rang, and I needed to take it out to my husband. So I was trying to think about, like, why did I go silent there? It disappeared. So they're just cutting that, again, 4.5 inches wide to make a large tag. And then I'm going to cut it in half. And not thinking that I could have just put this in my cutter at this point. The 14 by 14 is just too big for any cutter that I have. So I did cut this one. I marked it, but then I cut it shorter than I intended to. I cut it on a different line, but that's okay. So I'm just cutting the extra off because I want them to be sort of the same size. And then moving on to the next bit, I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and make some just some pockets, guys. So I'm going to make pockets out of this bottom piece. And then again, just going the easy route and just using my scissors. I find that to be easier. I could have, again, at this point, went ahead and started using my trimmer, but I do that here in a little bit. Just measuring that out just to see what I want to make out of it. I think this piece, and I apologize, in the voiceover I have to think about what it is. Oh, that ends up being I make that a pocket, a side pocket. So, and then the side that I cut off the right is going to be a small tag, I believe. Not sure. I can't find the piece. It might have been something that I just threw in my, oh, I think I made a corner pocket out of that right side, but you guys will be able to see here. I am doing the voiceover the day after I recorded, so that's always kind of a crapshoot because my memory is not great. And I'm looking at the pieces as I'm talking and trying to dissect what I was doing. This is the one that I went ahead and I just cut it into rectangles and made 2 side pockets, which was pretty nifty. And they'll be nice. One will be, because of the direction of the paper, one will be a pocket in the, at the top, a top right hand corner, and then the bottom piece will be in the lower left hand corner of a page. So, and then here, I think this piece I'm cutting into a belly band. And I was actually going to make 2 belly bands, and then when I went to measure the second one, I cut it wrong, and so I don't even know. I was thinking about the width of the journal rather than the height of the journal, so that was silliness. I think it's the second one that I try that I end up cutting too short. I think I ended up making a tag out of it, but it happens. Not a big deal. And then just going to make some. I believe these are some tags and journal cards out of this piece. And some of it I do end up trimming off and just kind of throwing it in my scrap bin. And I was commenting about how none of those pieces, especially when they're layered up, go to waste in my studio, because I will use them for clusters or something, because it's a really solid base. And we will be doing the thumb notches and all of the tag edges so that you guys can actually see what I made with these here on camera in a little bit here. So this is the one I think that I cut too short. Yeah. So this one ended up being, so I was looking again, I was thinking about the width of the journal rather than the height. The belly band is generally, the way I do them is I do them horizontal, and so I cut this one too small. So I just made a side pocket out of it, and then I don't remember what I did with the other piece of it, but we might see that together on camera here. And this one I think ends up being the right height for a belly band. This journal is going to be measuring, the cover will be 6 by 9, and then the pages will be 5 3/4 by 8 3/4. Just straightening out some of those edges too, because I was cutting kind of freehand as I was trimming those down. So. And here we're going to go ahead and do some thumb notches and make some pockets. So this one is going to be a pocket, a top loading pocket. So pretty cool. And it measures 4.5 inches wide and about 3.5 inches tall. And then this one ended up being I didn't want to cut into the flower or that label, that quart label, so I did make it a side pocket, so it's going to load from the left side on a page. So, and I love that I got that printed pattern scrap in there. I love it. I think it's perfect. So you have that one as well. And then this one here with the camera, what did it end up being? Where is it in my stuff here? I must have lost the camera, or is it in, oh, that's a tag. So this is one of the large tags that measures 7 inches tall by 4.5 inches wide. And then the one with the backpack also is a large tag. Again, one of them ended up being shorter than the other just because I didn't cut that correctly on the onset, so, but it's okay. I have a few different size tags that I just use as a template for cutting my corners, just so that they don't look all wonky. And those are our two, our triangle corner pockets, corner tucks. And then this is going to be a small tag as well. Just trimming that up a little bit. And I just kind of spy the center. Sometimes I get that really right, and sometimes I get it really wrong. But again, perfection is not the name of the game, in my opinion. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for coming along. Again, off camera, I will do the stitching and I will do the decorating of these pieces. So thanks so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.